Hello, good morning everyone. Thank you for coming along today. This is an event for accounting and finance applicants. What we're going to do today is share from the experience of two Network75 students. We're lucky enough to have Lucy, who's a Network75 Accounting and Finance graduate working with Atradius, and Sophie, who's a current Network75 student on placement with NHS Aneurin Bevan Health Board. So there'll be opportunity to find out more about their experiences of the scheme and what you can expect as a Network75 student within their host company, as well as a Q&A session. We have received some questions prior to the event, so we'll go with those first, but you'll also have an opportunity to ask questions within the Q&A chat function. So please feel free, as you think of any questions, to pop them along in the Q&A chat. We'll first start with our first presentation, which is Lucy of Atradius. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lucy. I am a former accounting and finance student on the Network75 scheme, and I currently work as a controller at my host company, Atradius. Today, I wanted to give you some advice about joining the scheme, and also wanted to share with you my experiences at the host company, Atradius, who are looking for someone to join us in September. Right, so I wanted to begin with advice because I feel like this is something that whatever placement you go on, this is something that will be really useful for you. So in terms of the next few weeks, hopefully you'll be attending some interviews. Please prepare for these interviews, research your company, show that you really want to work there. It's always good to show some enthusiasm. Also, have a little research on frequently asked questions. They're not going to be testing at this point in your career because you don't have that career experience, but this think about how you might answer questions and it will really help the flow of the interview. Then in terms of when you do start on your placement, it's going to be a massive learning curve. There will be things that do go wrong, but there are things that you can control and you can get right, and this is going to give a great impression to your new employer. So, for example, being on time, understanding and complying with the dress code, and being really open with how you communicate with your employer, so everyone knows how to support you. And then in terms of the learning aspect within your role, ask loads of questions. You're there to learn. I tend to sit by a rule that if I'm not making any progress within 20 minutes, ask someone, and that you're there to learn, so someone's going to be there to help you out. And when they do help you out, take loads of notes, make a record of it. I still have my notes from my first year that I refer back on. So then in terms of the studying element, you're not going to have a lot of time because you're going to be juggling so many parts of your life. So try and find time in your schedule that's spare. So for me, I'd have free periods within my university day that I'd take my laptop and I just try and do some work, some assignments. I work in an office in Cardiff, so the commute is the traffic's awful. So I used to stay an hour after work, and then I'd miss all the traffic then, and then I get home with no work to be done. So the course itself is split into, it's tested within assignments and exams. For assignments, I always try to get them done a week early so that you have plenty of time to review them and to make any changes. There's no panic there. And for exams, I mean, studying A-levels and GCSEs, I made tons of pretty notes, but for this, you really need to use your time wisely. So getting straight into the exam questions and making notes on anything you're missing within them really will help you to be the best in those exams, because you'll know what the examiner's looking for. And then lectures, within the degree, you study 3 to 4 modules a year, depending on where you are. I'd always suggest reviewing or make sure you have an understanding of the previous week, because a lot of the modules build on the previous week. So we don't want you to be lost during the next lecture if you didn't understand what was going on the week before. And then in terms of combining your studies with your workplace, always be open about what's going on in university, because then your employer is going to know when you're going to show up and when you need to step back a bit and focus on your studies. So about Atradius, I'm not sure if you've heard of Atradius, but we are a specialist in trade credit insurance. So trade credit insurance, we insure companies so that when they sell goods or services on trade credit terms, so they may say, pay me in 30 days. So we insure the risk that they do not get paid. So we're a multinational company. We have a presence in over 50 countries. In terms of our UK and Ireland setup, our head offices are in Cardiff Bay. We're right next to the Welsh Assembly. And we have regional hubs in London, Manchester, Birmingham, Dublin and Belfast. We also offer a range of apprenticeships such as the Network75, the Welsh Financial Services Graduate Scheme, and more recently an ALS apprenticeship. So there are a community of students within Atradius, which is quite nice when people are going through a similar experience to you. So when I was putting together this presentation, I was thinking about why I decided to go down this route. So in terms of the actual Network75, I was at an open day and they mentioned the accounting and finance lecturers mentioned this Network75 scheme. So I went along to a presentation and I was sold almost immediately. The hands-on experience I thought would be so valuable to me and would increase my chances of gaining employability once I graduate. I've looked at other apprenticeships outside of Wales. I couldn't find many within Wales. So the fact that you could work, study and work within Wales was really appealing to me. Also, the debt-free learning, that was a factor. Now I can really see, now I've graduated and I'm working, I can really see how this is a huge benefit from the scheme. That I don't have to worry about any of that. And then in terms of the host companies, when I was looking at the scheme, there were some companies that I could see myself working for. Atradius was not one of them because I did not know a lot about them, but here I am. And so then why I started working for Atradius. So I was offered 2 interviews at the time, and Atradius was my first. I went there. The offices are beautiful there. I was kind of overwhelmed by them, really. They're a large global firm, so I thought potential opportunities for me beyond Network75. And also I enjoyed the informal chat aspect of the interview. None of the questions were grilling. It was just getting to know me, getting to know whether I'd be suitable for the job and fit in the team. So in terms of my journey, so I started in 2017. I was an assistant controller. The first 6 months were a huge adjustment. You're adjusting to work. You're in a professional environment. You're adjusting to studying. There's so much in your life is changing that it does take time for you to settle, and that is okay. During my time, I used a mixed range of learning methods. We use online tutorials at Atradius, one-to-one mentoring, not just in the team we're in, but with other people throughout the company. You don't have one fixed mentor. We encourage independent research and investigation. Sometimes I'll be given a task and I'm just sent away to go and research it, and you really develop that skill in this role. And then we also do regular performance reviews, and that's just to show how we can support you going forward, and where you're struggling and how we can move forward with that. So a big part of my role to start off with was a lot of project work. all the work that I've done at Atradius has been real work with some real benefit, which is what I love about this placement. We work with various teams within the company. We help them kind of find solutions for things. I've developed skills that I wasn't expecting from an accounting degree placement. I've learned advanced Excel and Visual Basic, so that's kind of within, say, Excel, that's kind of automating processes, maybe at the click of a button. I've also developed skills to do with SharePoint. We produce a lot of management information. One of my projects was to find a way to display it and share it with the rest of the company. So I built a SharePoint site, and that wasn't something I was expecting to learn, but because of this, within the team we have our own specialisms, and these things are now my specialisms, and that's what I developed. And then I was given regular reporting responsibilities that kind of involved these special skills that I'd learnt. Then during my Network75, we hit the COVID pandemic. Overnight we were working from home. I had to set up a home office. That was a huge adjustment again, when I thought I was all settled, but you know, eventually we got into the swing of things. Now we've returned to the office, and we have a hybrid working setup. It's 60% in the office, 40% at home, and that kind of works for us because we get to touch base in the office, and then we get to kind of come home and get you know, have peace and quiet and get things done. So then in March 2021, I was employed a little bit earlier than expected by Atradius, and then graduated then last summer. So in terms of the team I work on, so with the control team, it's not a typical accounting role that you may expect. We're sat within a commercial department, so we're working with the sales people, the people who service our customers, customer services, marketing. We work alongside them to kind of, you know, help them and support them to do their jobs. So we have quite a broad scope of responsibilities. Within the team, each member has their own kind of speciality. I've mentioned mine. One of my other colleagues, he's worked in the company for in a number of roles. He's very good with the internal system, so that's one of his specialities, and we're all there to support each other. However, we are able to cover and support each other, you know, if we were off, if we were on holiday. So you're always going to have someone that can help you out. So in terms of the role, we do a lot of management reporting. It's kind of more of your management accounting style role. So the good thing about this is that the senior management use these reports that we produce, and you can kind of see the knock-on effect. They make decisions based on the results we give them. We also set budgets, and we set targets for individuals within the company, and you know, we can see what kind of strategy we want to move forward with. We also monitor compliance with audit processes. In terms of building these management reports, we work with large data sets. We use Excel, we use Microsoft Access to build those. And then again, we have this more ad hoc project work where we get to work with lots of people within the company. So overall, what we can expect from a placement at Atradius is real life hands-on experience right from the start. You're not going to be making the tea, you're not going to be doing the photocopying. It is genuine real life experience. We work within the control team. We're a team of 5. We're really close-knit, we're really supportive. You're going to have plenty of support along the way. In terms of the whole Cardiff office, we're a really friendly environment. Everyone's professional, but everyone's out to help you. Then in terms of the skills you can learn, there are plenty of skills, and they're all going to be transferable. I knew that if I didn't get a job at the end of my placement, I had loads of skills that I could go somewhere else and use. So that was really important to me. And then we can expect, you can expect hybrid working, as I've already mentioned. So just to finish, I just wanted to talk about some of the changes I've experienced within the last 6 years of working at Atradius. So firstly, as I've mentioned, hybrid working. Beforehand, we were in the office 5 days a week. This has given us so much more flexibility, better work-life balance. Our internal communication system is better. I speak to people in the regional offices almost on a daily basis now, whereas I didn't before. In the next few years, we've got a potential downsizing in the office, maybe. That's something that potentially we could be working on as a team. Then in terms of apprenticeship opportunities, there have been so many more since I started at the company, and we've really noticed a lot of younger people securing roles. The workforce has definitely got younger as time's gone on, which is brilliant. And then in terms of the dress code, when I first started, men had to wear ties and suits. It was very formal, but now we're far more relaxed. Jeans, you know, collared shirts, you know, we have a standard, but it's far more relaxed, and I think it's quite a nice environment, far more relaxed then. So that's me finished. Thanks for listening, and good luck on your applications, and then I'll be available to take questions later on in the session.
Thank you, Lucy. That was really informative. That's brilliant. Thank you. So we'll move on to our next presentation, so we can ensure we've got plenty of time for questions at the end. So if we can go next to Sophie. Thank you.
Okay, hi all. Lucy's presentation was really good, so apologies if I echo any of his points too much, but I'll try to keep to a minimum. So I'm Sophie, and I'm a third-year Accounting and Finance student at Aneurin Bevan University Health Board. So my journey to where I am now is a little bit different. So when I first finished school, I didn't apply for Network75 straight away. I actually went to Cardiff full-time for a year, and then I reapplied a year later. So I suppose really that'll be quite useful for you, like if you're deciding whether to go down Network75 route or whether to do it full-time, because well, I know when like I was in your in your situation, I wish I known somebody who had like done both. So currently I'm on placement in the complex healthcare team, where we manage packages of cares for individuals in care homes and also in the community. So this involves logging invoices from our providers and then paying these onto our national database, and then also being responsible for funding any of our patients with equipment they need as well, whether that's in their homes or in the care homes as well. So a little bit of an overview of my Network75 experience to date. So I've just spoken a little bit about my current role, but it'll be good for you to have like a glimpse of just how many departments I've been to during my time. So you can see from the slide just how much experience I've gained. I won't go into detail on every department now, but just so you can get a feel for what like the day-to-day can look like as a trainee. So for example, in governance, I was responsible for the day-to-day administration of the health board's authorised signatory list, and also maintaining the health board's financial control policies. And then central management accounts. So I provided support to business partners to ensure that financial information provided each month was like on time and is accurate. So using Oracle and FBI, which are both two really key systems you'll become like very familiar with. I basically use them every day. And then I think probably one of the main things to take from this slide is that when you're in these departments, I think Lucy touched on it a bit, you do really feel like you're adding value. and everyone's like always so appreciative of your help. So it works both ways really, because obviously we help out the departments by giving our time to them, and then we get the experience and the knowledge as well. Okay, so what to expect from a placement with Aneurin Bevan. So you gain a wealth of experience, learn something new from each department, but then also because obviously the NHS is such a big organisation, I especially found that like as I visited more departments, you get more of an idea of how each department feeds into like the bigger picture. So that's really quite interesting. Exposure to different systems and obviously training on how these systems work as well. So I touched a little bit on Oracle and FBI, and they're sort of the two main ones that we use like in finance. A tailored program and reviews. So you get like a brief plan for the 5 years, and then you have like regular catch-ups with your mentor, especially like once you've left a placement and you're moving on to your next one. And then also what my mentor has tried to do is sort of line up the departments with the uni modules that you're doing at the time. So for example, you'll have an audit module in uni, and we have like an audit department in Aneurin Bevan. So I was on a placement there for a couple of months whilst I was doing the audit module. So that can be really useful. And then obviously earning a salary while studying, which is a massive bonus. In Aneurin Bevan, we have a student group, so we consistently have around 10 people on training programs across the different years. So there's always someone you can talk to, and we have like regular meetings anyway, and we have a couple of nights out as well, which is always good. Conferences, I think this is a big one, especially working in the NHS because it's so large. So I've been to like national conferences, and that can really help to like widen your understanding of issues like across Wales and nationally as well, because obviously we are like health focused. So even though we obviously deal with the finance side of things, when you go to these conferences, it's so interesting to be able to see what we're actually paying for and like what projects everyone's leading on, and like how these can obviously help the community as well. Yeah, so that's national conferences. And then we also have like cross-sector conferences. So we can have like all of the health boards there, a couple of the local councils go, the police, Audit Wales, they come as well. And then we actually have our annual finance conference coming up next week. So that's like another thing I'll get to go to. And you'll get to meet like so many different people there, and everyone will talk to you. So yeah, that's a really good way of networking. Okay, what to expect studying via Network75. So get your degree while gaining experience. I think this is really important when you look at how competitive the graduate market can be. I'm sure like Lucy would back me up on that. The experience you get, you'll know like employers are always looking for experience, but it's sometimes so hard to gain that experience. But obviously you won't have that issue if you decide to go on Network75. Often complete your degree with a higher classification due to the experience you gain while working. I think this can really help sometimes, especially if some of your modules line up quite closely with what you're doing in work. Obviously, if you're doing it day in, day out, you're going to have a much better understanding of it. A reduced number of modules each year compared to if you were doing like a full-time course. So I think for me, this was like personally one of the biggest advantages after doing my first year full-time, because you just have so much more time to spend on each of the modules, and you just understand, well, I did anyway, I just understood it a lot more, which obviously led to like a higher grade then, because I think in my first year in Cardiff I had like 9 exams in 1 year, so that's pretty difficult because it's such a hard degree as well. So yeah, that was a big bonus for me. And then the experience you gain in the 5 years on Network75 can then count towards the mandatory experience you need to do for ACCA. So if you decided to progress onto that after graduating, that'll be a big help to you. And then just finally for me then, some tips and advice for undertaking the Network75 route. So definitely maximise the people you come across with and work with by gaining as much knowledge and experience as you can. You will literally meet so many people and everyone will teach you something new. Like Lucy said, don't be afraid to ask questions. Nobody gets everything right the first time, and that's definitely how you're going to learn. Put yourself forward, move out of your comfort zone. You'll find that a lot more opportunities will open up to you that way. And just because like you think you're like a trainee, don't think that that means you can't put yourself forward for things. You definitely can. One then about uni, definitely stay on top of your modules at university and work hard, because it is a hard course at the end of the day. So definitely keeping yourself accountable is key. And I know Lucy touched on a good few tips there of how you can do that. And then my final point then would just to be do it and go for it. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. And just like Lucy, I'll be around now to answer any questions that you might have. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophie. That was another brilliant presentation. Really appreciate both your time and really informative. It's lovely to hear what a great experience you've both had on the scheme and the positives that you take from it. So we're going to go to the Q&A now. I know some people might have started the session a little bit late, but I did say if you have got any questions, you can add them to the Q&A section, so please feel free to type them in. But we did ask for questions before you attended also, so we did have some questions sent in, so we'll start with those, but there'll be plenty of time whilst we're asking those. If anybody has any questions to ask following the presentations, then please feel free to pop them in the Q&A, and we'll try our best to get to them within the time. So I think for this question, we'll come to both of you. But firstly, then, to give Sophie a break because she's been speaking, but to Lucy then. So what would be the most interesting part of your job role?
Okay, so the most interesting part, I think really the project work that we do is probably my favourite and most interesting. I think it allows you to develop lots of different skills that maybe you weren't expecting to learn. It also allows for you to work with different people without the company. And also at the end of it, you can see the difference that it's making. It might have improved a process, or you know, that there is going to be some long-term benefit. So I think that's kind of the most interesting and both rewarding aspect of my role.
Thanks, Lucy. And the same to you, Sophie. What's the most interesting part of your role so far? Yeah, so I think for me, it will be like I get to go out to a couple of the hospital sites quite regularly. So that can be really interesting. So like if I'm involved in a project, I can go and meet. So for example, I could go down to the Grange and I could meet with that specific area, and we'll have a big meeting and everyone will get involved. And then it's like what Lucy said a little bit, that then you see how that progresses then. So I could be involved in the project right from the start all the way to the finish. And I think as well, just even if when I go to like these meetings, I'm not maybe contributing loads and loads of knowledge, but it's just being involved in the conversations that are happening. Like you just pick up so much that way as well. So yeah, that's mine. It's very interesting. Okay. Thanks, Sophie. Thanks both. Okay, so the second question then is, are there any specific skills or attributes needed for the roles within your host company? So Sophie, come back to you. Okay, so I think nothing too specific, because obviously you're just starting out. Maybe like a very brief understanding of Excel, that can always be useful. You definitely need to be hardworking. You know, it's hard balancing your time between uni and working. Yeah, so hardworking, confident, or willing to learn. You're going to get thrown so much information at you, and you're going to have to take it in. So yeah, I'd say those are my main ones. Okay, great, thanks. And Lucy, anything to add for yourself?
I mean, very similar. You know, the use of Microsoft packages, that, you know, some knowledge of that is good, but, you know, not necessary. I think for my team, it's kind of that, you know, being a team player is important. We do a lot of work together, and just that willingness to learn, and I think communication as well, being open with and honest with how you're getting on, is really important within this role. And then being organised, you know, making sure you're getting you're on top of your work, because some things can just get thrown at you, and you need to be able to manage that. But a lot of the skills you learn on the job, and so don't feel too much pressure right now.
Good, great. Okay, so the next question then, I think we'll come to Sophie on this, because I know Lucy touched on it in her presentation. Actually, I think there's some really great tips there our current students could pick on. But the next question is, how do you, Sophie, how do you manage your placement and study, the balance on Network 75?
Okay, so I think for me, it sort of varies during like where you are in the semester. Definitely around exam time, like I'm not gonna lie, it can be difficult, because you're obviously working in the day, and then like you're coming straight home and you're revising probably for most of the night. But you get study leave days, so they can really help. You can like just smash out the revision in those days. It's just really important that you're like on top of your modules by the time it gets to exam season. If it gets to exam season and you're like 6 weeks behind, it's going to be like even more difficult than what it actually is. So and then like coursework wise, so like a bit earlier on in the year before we get to exam season, that I don't find that too difficult, to be honest. I feel like I can sort of do that on the weekend, and like, you know, I still have enough time to have like, you know, my own time on the weekends. So yeah, definitely staying on top of everything during the year to make it easier for yourself come exam season.
Louise, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry, thank you. I knew I would do that. Okay, yeah, so sorry, a question relating to the course as well then. So, and to you, Lucy, how did you find the accounting and finance course side of things?
So I think the first few years were, I didn't find them too difficult, because I think the first year or so, they like to kind of, it's more of a leveler. So some people will know more, some people will know less. They just need to bring you to the same level. So I found the first few years fine in terms of the learning and the content. As you go forward, then it does get far more difficult, and you do have to dedicate more time. But I just think, you know, the strategies that, you know, I spoke about in my presentation, and really kind of keeping on top of the work, as long as you do that and you don't let yourself go behind, then it's all manageable. And you know, the lecturers are there to help you as well, so make use of their time, and, you know, stay in contact with them.
That's great, thank you, Lucy. So question probably to both of you that's just come through on the Q&A is, do you have any advice for the company interview process? And if we go to Sophie first.
Yeah, so definitely make sure you research the company. It doesn't have to be like massively in depth, but you definitely need to have an understanding of what they do, at least. Be yourself, be confident, ask questions at the end of the interview for sure. Maybe even put your interviewers under a little bit of pressure with the questions that you ask. But yeah, honestly, if you prepare for it, there's no reason why it won't go well.
Okay, and Lucy, have you got anything to add to that, or?
I mean, the only thing really, I mean, Sophie's kind of covered a lot of it, but you've just got to realise that they're not there to grill you. They're not expecting you to have, you know, experience, you know, whereas, you know, if I was going for an interview now, they would be grilling me slightly more. So they're just there to get to know you. You know, it's going to be intimidating, but just keep in mind that you know, they're not going to be too tricky. Research questions, think about how you might answer them. I mean, I think when I was preparing, me and my dad had a bit of a Google, and we sat down and we did a kind of mock interview, and that was a great way for me to kind of build some confidence and really think of thoughtful answers.
Okay, that's great. Thank you both. So this one then, I don't know, I guess it'll be a tricky one, I think, but what has been your most memorable Network 75 achievement to date? And to you, Sophie, first. Sorry.
Ooh. Okay, so I'll do like a uni-based one. So we have we had a module this year. It's like a professional development module. Lucy will probably know what I'm talking about. So we had to basically prepare like a presentation for a business partner, and then basically, long story short, my group like won, and then we got to go down and visit the business partner in their workplace, and we gave a little presentation to them, and we just had a really nice day down there. So yeah, that was really good. So that's probably mine. Lucy might have a bit more experience.
Thanks, Sophie. And Lucy?
I mean, in terms of university, that's probably you know, I had exactly the same. We won it was a bit of a competition. We did it in pairs. We got to go down to the business and yeah, present them. I think we went out for breakfast with them as well. But just to choose a different one, in terms of the company, I mean, I touched on it on my in my presentation, but in terms of like memorable and achievements, probably doing my SharePoint site was kind of the point in time when maybe I think people in the company started to take notice of me and think, oh, maybe she's, you know, maybe she's got potential to get employment. That was a real big achievement, and that gave me so much confidence, you know, moving forward. And you know, I think it was definitely a turning point for me.
Great. Okay, thank you both. That actually concludes our questions. I'll just double check now. There's no further on the live Q&A that we've got running. No further questions then. Okay. Listen, I would like to say thank you to both of you. You know, I know I work on Network 75, but it's been really interesting listening to your presentations as well and hearing a bit more from you guys as to what you do in your placements. And I think both opportunities are quite different, but both really interesting and great opportunities. You know, it looks to me clear that both opportunities have wonderful support functions around you whilst you're on the placement, which I think does help then students to get the most out of the Network 75 experience. And so thank you both for your time, and for everyone listening, thanks for coming along today. We have recorded this session, so we'll make it available because there was a couple of people who couldn't quite make it to this time and slot. I know you're all busy with your exams, but thank you for coming along. We hope you found it useful and informative, and we will be in touch with some post-event feedback for you to provide to us regarding the event in general, and also as well your thoughts on whether you would like to be put forward now for these placements at both host companies. In terms a bit more generally of your Network 75 journey, I am looking to start sending applications out sort of from the end of this week onwards. Okay, so you can expect now for your application to go out to host companies with a view to them then shortlisting and deciding from your applications who they would like to interview. So that's going to start in the immediate future. So from the end of this week onwards, we'll start sending applications out, and you know, hopefully you'll get shortlisted, and hopefully this event has provided you with some great tips for your interviews, and you know, hopefully you'll be able to join us on the scheme just as Lucy and Sophie have, obviously doing really well in their host companies. So it's brilliant to see. So thank you everyone for your time, and we hope you found the event useful.